Hello, and welcome to my Let's Play of Final Fantasy Tactics Rebirth. In case you watched the introduction video, you'll know a little bit about myself, but I haven't talked too much about the mod. It was released in 2010 and then got an update in 2011. And as you can see, it has a modified title screen. Other than that, this is all the same. The script, as you can see, is the original PlayStation script, not the PlayStation Portable script. I did promise to do some translations of this script in the hard-to-understand parts. However, the script repository I was using that had the Japanese script on it actually is no longer available on the internet. So I'm trying to find out a solution to that. In the meantime, though, we'll just have to stick with the English script that is on the PlayStation version. And if you want to check out the PSP script, of course, you can do that online. So we start out here with this narration outside the game, kind of telling us the history of this period. But we also know that what we see with our eyes alone isn't necessarily the truth. So that is going to be kind of the frame for this entire game, that we are going to hear the unsung story, which is, of course, the name of Matsuno's new game, upcoming game, which promises to be kind of yet another retelling of this story. So we had the chaotic branch of Tactics Ogre, and then Final Fantasy Tactics, and then Unsung Story. Kind of seems like it's going to be a third retelling of this story. Sorry, a third telling of this story. So here's a young man. He is the youngest son of the noble Beowulf, Pillars of Knighthood. There's no record of his playing an active part in history, but according to the Duray report released last year, concealed for many years by the church, this unknown man is the true hero. So this Duray report is going to come up again in the story later on. I should just mention right now that I'm not going to avoid including any spoilers in this. I assume that everybody kind of knows the story of Final Fantasy Tactics, or otherwise you can just go watch a Let's Play of the original Final Fantasy Tactics, and you don't need to bother with watching Rebirth right away. The church claims that he was a blasphemer and anarchist, the root of all evil. But is this the quote-unquote truth? Won't you join me on a journey for the truth? So this is maybe one of the few games out there that is told from the standpoint of a historian. Quite unusual. So tell me your name and birthday. Sure. So we're gonna go with Ramza. I don't see any reason to change that. And we're going to go with my birthday. Now, this is definitely not the best zodiac sign to play with, but FFT Rebirth isn't so hard that we can't get away with it. So here we are at Orbonne Monastery. So, in this first scene, we've learned that this country, Ivalis, is a monotheistic country. That the Princess Ovelia is leaving this monastery, and that the guards assigned to protect her are being attacked by the men of Goltana. Now, the crest of the Black Lion is the crest of Goltana, so that was what we saw in the introductory video, was the knights coming in to attack. And we also got introduced to Gafgarian, who is a mercenary, and his subordinate, Ramza, who says that he used to be a knight, but now he's just a mercenary. Oh dear. So Gafgarian's a bit of a character, always looking out for himself, always trying to be clever, always looking for money. And Agrius is very uptight, straight and narrow. So there are these two contrasting characters, really fairly minor characters in the game. This mission is really just the most basic of tutorial missions, but it does serve a role in kind of framing the first act of the game. So we're going to control Ramza, the one-time knight and now mercenary, and apparently from the beginning of the game we can tell that he was branded as a heretic. So given that he was in a monastery just now, he probably isn't a heretic at this point in time. But again, this is all in the past, so the chronology could be a little bit mixed up. Now, Ramza, in this mission, he's got a Brave of 45 and Faith of 45. if we look at these other characters, Rad 6360, Lavian 6261, Alicia 6162, and then we got Gafgarian and so on. Well, these other characters are all going to join our party, but they aren't going to join our party with these stats. And Ramza certainly is not going to have these stats. So it's a little bit strange that the team, Nexus Studios, who modded the game, didn't actually change the stats to what they are when you get the characters. It's a little bit misleading. Anyway, you can just kind of do whatever you want in this mission. It's not really a challenge. So I'm just going to accumulate a very good skill. Just increases your physical attack by 1. That hasn't changed since the vanilla FFT. So these archers are all lining up to do charge attacks. Oh, this guy's going to attack instantly. Charge +3. +4. Our knights are pretty beefy, they can take the hits. Oh, and Agrius gets hit 2 of them. Now, in vanilla FFT, Gafgarian's skill was notable because almost all the characters in the game couldn't get it. But in the PSP version of the game, and also in Rebirth, there were classes added that allowed you to use Gafgarian's skill set. I think in the PSP version it was the Dark Knight or something like that, and in this it is the Lunar Knight. I've actually played through until Act 4, and I'm just going back now to start this Let's Play, and I did make Ramza into a Lunar Knight. Class is pretty good, but I'm not sure if I am going to do that again, just because, you know, I want to use some of the more marginal classes and see how well they were rebalanced in Rebirth. Okay, so I got an opportunity to attack here. Way to go. I don't think this experience actually counts for anything. Yeah, I mean, this mission, it's kind of like Agrius and Gafgarian do most of the heavy lifting. You can really just try to come in here and there to try to prevent the enemies from healing so you can get the mission over with. These first few missions are really, I think, pretty tedious. I understand that it's bad game design to overwhelm the player with choices at the beginning of the game. And so these missions are very narrow in their focus and what you can do. But FFT is really a game, I think, that thrives on complexity. There's a lot of games out there that thrive on simplicity and do very well with simplicity, but really a lot of the fun in FFT is the combinations of skills and equipment and so on that you can do with your various characters. And none of that is available in the early game. So I think the game doesn't really open up and become interesting until about when you get to Zeklos Desert in Act 1. the beginning, you know, it's really just kind of tutorialization, and I think it's fine for the first time you play through, but on repeat playthroughs, it's pretty tedious. So, for one thing, I'm not planning on including any of the footage of when I'm grinding in my Let's Play. I'll just be including the footage of either, you know, the story missions, or also the if I get into some of the special random encounters, like the challenge random encounters, I will also record that and include it in the Let's Play. But just basic grinding, I don't think anybody's interested in watching, and since I'm not monetizing this video series, there's really no point in me uploading it, wasting people's time, wasting my time, and so on. We'll just go through the interesting bits of the game. You know, if you want to do grinding, I actually find grinding in this game to be not that tedious for the player. There's something about the music, something about the art that is kind of therapeutic and relaxing, and it makes grinding actually a little bit, you know, enjoyable. I wouldn't say entertaining, but at least enjoyable in some way. But you know, if you want to do that, then I suggest doing that on your own and not watching a Let's Play of it. Because really, the value of the Let's Play, I think, is hearing what I have to say, if you consider that interesting, and watching another player get through some of the more challenging parts of the game. Whereas, you know, grinding is just you follow a certain formula of rules for a limited set of enemies, and you just repeat them over and over again. FFT does kind of try to mix up grinding a little bit by giving you different starting locations and somewhat randomized enemy seeds on the random encounters, but overall, you know, it's just from a small selection of enemies and small selection of starting locations, so there's really not much thought involved in any of it. You just kind of repeat the same actions again and again. On Mandilia Plains, of course. It's got to be the #1 grinding spot in the whole game. At least it has been for me. So I'm going to assume that everybody watching has a fairly good grasp of the basic mechanics of the game, but if that isn't the case and you want to know something about how the game works, definitely let me know and I'll comment on it in the next video. I'm going to try to upload once a day or once every 2 days. Still think it'll take a fairly long time to get through the game because it is quite long. And I haven't really decided if I'm going to go for something like a completionist run. If I'm going to try to, like, you know, get my characters up to level 99 and clear the deep dungeon and all that kind of stuff. Or if I'm just trying to try to finish the game and kind of see what changes have been made in the game in the patch. Of course, the deep dungeon itself has been changed because the Rebirth team have not only rebalanced the classes, they've also rebalanced the items, item drops, they changed the poaching system, they also have changed the encounters in the game, they've done some sprite reskins. As you can see, Ramses' sprite is reskinned, it's, or I should say, it's been palette swapped. And they also changed the random encounters and the deep dungeon. So really almost everything top to bottom except for the script and yeah, except for the script pretty much has been reworked. It's really an impressive mod of this game. And I feel like, you know, compared to FFT 1.3, which is a hard type mod, This one is a lot more accessible, and it kind of keeps the feel of the original FFT a lot more, in the sense that FFT was never a very difficult game. But, you know, they have added a little bit of challenge here and there with the super encounters, and some of the bosses have definitely been buffed up. They've just kind of perfected it by rebalancing all the classes and all the items and so on. It's a very, very polished mod so far from what I've seen. So it looks like at some point he managed to break her weapon, so she's just punching him. I really haven't been paying much attention to this because it's just beating on this guy at this point. Yeah. It's just caution, caution, caution. Caution is obviously the skill that gives you defend. And that's one of the changes in Rebirth, is that a lot of the classes have been given their utility skill as an automatic effect as long as they stay within their class. So, for example, the Knight automatically gets defend as long as that character remains a Knight. You can still learn the defend skill and equip it off class, but as long as you stay in the class, you get that utility skill for free, which really opens up a lot of character building possibilities. Oh, this is just tedious. I wish I had weapon break, or sorry, shield break. That would be excellent, but or even throw stone or something. I mean, it's just Rams has got nothing going for him at all. Oh, okay, this is gonna go attack Brad. Oh. Come on, Gafgarian, take him down. Okay, another change, yeah, that was made in the game was that Gafgarian skills were made to require mana. So that is why Gafgarian isn't just using Dark Sword and killing him. It's because he's ran out of mana. And since I don't have an item skill, I can't use Ether to buff up Gafgarian's mana. This is just ridiculous. I wish I had, like, Yell or something I could use to buff the other characters, or some kind of ranged attack. It's just like, no, defend, defend. Like, I mean, I can't believe the Knights here don't have any break skills that could be useful. Oh, okay, he's gonna break my armor. He can break stuff, but we can't, obviously. Come on. Ugh. Ugh. So yeah, another change that's been made is that the Knight skills have been made a lot more viable. Their chance for success has been increased considerably. Okay, I'm actually going to deal some damage to them this time. But I suspect he's also just going to high potion, so I don't really know how valuable that is going to be. Yeah, just a lot of the classes that were previously really subpar, really low tier, have been rebalanced to be viable. I mean, I don't think the Knight skills are amazing, but they're certainly more usable than they used to be. I mean, the main thing with the Knight is you get access to the best, or sorry, the most heavy-duty gear, you get the most HP, and you can do some pretty heavy damage with Knight swords. Like, I guess Ragnarok was one of them, I think. It's been a very long time since I played vanilla. And I haven't really gotten very far in Act 4 on my other playthrough of the game yet, so I haven't really gotten access to the high tier Knight swords. but I do remember 2 of them were Ragnarok, and the other one was I think called Save the Queen, which gives you auto protect, if I remember correctly. Okay, some damage. I can't get into that water because it's depth 4, so Rams is going to be totally useless again. 58%. Alright. Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm just going to get out of the way so that some other character can ineffectually try to beat on his shield. This is really absurd. It didn't take this long for me to finish the mission the first time I played through. Armor break. Okay, missed, but you know, 63% though you can see is viable. I especially found that the knight skills are excellent when you use 2 swords, which is a ninja utility skill. So what you can do is you get 2 attempts to break the item. So you can usually break whatever you're trying to hit, which in the case of shields and weapons can be quite useful. Now the thing about the break skills is that they can be very useful in situations like this where you just want to break their armor so that they quit defending. But at the same time, they're always going to be less valuable than the thief skills, you know, to steal this stuff. Because at the very least you can sell it, and in most cases, in every map on this game, in Rebirth, there is a sort of elite unit that has been added, which has better loot than all the other units. As a thief, you can obviously steal that better loot. At the same time, though, the success chance on steal is pretty low. It's usually around like 25%. So I found so far that when you're trying to steal from bosses and stuff, you end up doing a lot of save scumming, and I guess I understand why they had to make that design decision, because if steal was too viable, it would just be game breaking. But at the same time, it's not really like it adds challenge to the game so much as it just adds tedium. But there's really no way around that. It does at the very least discourage you from stealing too often, because, you know, save scumming is just tedious. At the same time, though, since the poach ability has been significantly improved, there are other avenues to getting good loot. You just need to have the secret hunt ability equipped when you're out killing monsters. So we're going to finish up this battle, and then I will put a cut once we start the next mission. There's going to be some storyline in between. Okay, so one of the most famous scenes from this game. Don't blame us, blame yourself or God. One of the most famous lines from this translation. Actually, fairly close to the original Japanese. I don't have the Japanese script with me, obviously, but I have tried to translate it in the past. It's a fairly difficult passage to translate. I think they did a good job with it. And I think it's maybe a more punchy line than what was done in the PSP translation. So we learn here that the knight who has kidnapped Princess Ovelia is Delita. Now, we saw in the introduction that Delita becomes king. So there's a lot of foreshadowing in this game, and a lot of sort of playing with perspective and time in a way that many other games don't do, even now. So why is Delita with Goltana's troops? Well, we're going to have to find out. And how does Ramza know him? So, Final Fantasy Tactics also very famous for these incredibly slow intro sequences. The text speed just gets slower and slower as it goes on. No jobs. Little money. I don't know what they were thinking with this scroll speed, but whatever. I mean, it only happens in these act intro sequences where you get the text on top of the scene. So Ivalice has just concluded a war, and the soldiers who were part of that war have gotten a raw deal, and that is because we will see that Ivalice kind of lost the war. And I think this is basically a reference to the 100 Years' War. English lost the war against France. And the first act is really going to deal with what happens to these soldiers in the aftermath of the war. So, Ramza and Delita are together right away. So two big shots, Prince Larg and Marquis Elmdor, are coming to town, and we cadets are going to clean up these quote-unquote barbarians, the traitorous Death Corps. I believe in the PSP version it was translated as the Corpse Brigade. I kind of like that translation a little bit more. A gang of tortured thieves. Another famous line from this game. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the first episode. We will see what happens to Ramza and the other cadets. in the next one. If you like the video, please like and subscribe for more.